Urbanization has led to the gradual destruction of traditional urban areas in Kuala Lumpur, namely Jalan Tun HSD, where the sense of places are important for place identity, embodied in both intangible and tangible aspects. Jalan Tun HSD, a 1.8-kilometer historical street running through the heart of downtown Kuala Lumpur, has fallen victim to the disadvantage of modernization. The younger generation desiring a different future, then continuing the generational cycle of threats that has allowed over-tourism to encroach, wiping over the decaying and abandoned local shophouses' identities, which ultimately led to the disruption of the local lifestyle.
Modernization has led to the destruction and loss of traditional urban areas along Kuala Lumpur, namely Jalan Tun HSD, where the place identity is embodied in tangible and intangible aspects. This research aims to identify the factors and affected context of the street, contributing to the engulfment of the authentic identity which fades away collective social memories of the locals, as well as analyzing ways to keep the street alive by achieving a balance between tradition and modernism, while restoring the place identity within the community of the street. A total of 6 case studies are carried out, with data collection as a form of secondary qualitative research on the historical background of the site, past and present community of the street, and how modernization has affected the street over time. All information is gathered through means of site visit and online research, for instance, studies from websites and articles.
Our research will start with 3 main keywords which lead to the loss of authentic identity of the street: modernization, abandonment of tradition, and social norm. Then we will go in depth and cover the affected areas of the street by each factor that ultimately fades away the collective social memories.
So let's begin with our research questions on modernization. How to enhance modernization without abandoning the social memories of the locals. So one of it is sensitive developing plans and conserving existing features of the intangible and tangible aspect of the street. Nowadays, second floors of the shop lots are usually used as cheap accommodations for foreigners, making it look run down and unpleasant for locals to even consider staying there. Enhancing said areas can bring alive past social memories and make it a new reality. New buildings tend to neglect sustainable notions in modern architectural practice, but the restrictions are becoming progressively harsher, expressing the expectations and possibilities of society. As a result, new houses are typically constructed with a much stricter energy-conscious aspect, resulting in a high level of comfort and minimal maintenance expenses. The energy and cost efficiency criteria for modernizing a non-protected building are just as severe as they are for a new construction. Building modernization is becoming an increasingly significant and common activity as a result of this stringent criteria. When designing a new structure, architects must meet stringent requirements that are in line with current norms. Typically, an existing structure cannot meet these actual standards, thus the designers must also identify which aspects of the structure should be enhanced at what rate. Protected old historical sites have mitigated demands in legislation and norms in this regard. To improve the energy efficiency of existing buildings, difficult and time-consuming changes are required. Such issues can only be overcome by proper architectural and structural design. As such, social memories of the locals could be enhanced through social interaction between residents and public who visits the streets temporarily, as well as uninterrupted lifestyle and street image. For the second question, it's how has local restorations of the heritage building affected tourism? Near Petaling Street, Jalan Tun HSD is also a popular tourist spot. In the early 2000s, rental was at about 200 ringgit and was since abolished, causing the market to skyrocket in the area, which allowed owners to restore the establishment. Many property owners in the area rent out their lots to shop owners who now accommodate tourists, making it a tourist area, allowing for a tourist boom to happen as it is in the heart of KL. Some restorations lead to owners making the building a backpackers hostel, also seen as a budget hotel, in a way inviting tourists who are looking for cheap accommodation in KL.
Next, it will be research questions under the factor of abandonment of tradition. First question, how can local authorities keep traditional streets alive? Street renewal of historical business districts by local authorities helps to make the street more efficient and more adaptable to the requirements of future development. In order to attract people's attention in securing the comfort and safety of users, it seeks to revitalize the effective role of these areas in the commercial activity of the city. While preserving their historical value and distinctive urban character, streets renewal action include reconstruction, restoration, conservation, and urban infill as the most important procedures. Second question, what are the intangible aspects that were abandoned through the process of modernization? Looking at the intangible aspects of the street, the urban environment's very structure is intrinsically connected with almost all forms of memory: cultural, communicative, collective, individual, institutional, informal, public, and private. Old sites are forgotten, new representations emerge, and ultimately, the landscape of memory created are scattered throughout the city depending on the former urban design of traditional practices of different communities, especially in Jalan Tun HS Lee. These landscapes of memory require the recording, control, and classification of representations of space. Therefore, in terms of its relationship with time, memory is inextricably linked to space.
Moving on to the social norms, does the young generation play a significant role in the loss of street identities, social memories, and traits? It is apparent that young generation decline to continue the business of their elders, and one example of the dying trade in Jalan Tun HS Lee is the traditional kopitiam business. Kopitiam culture has been around in Malaysia for 150 years, and it is the older generation responsibility to pass down this culture and its significance to the younger generation. When such importance is not instilled, the younger generations are left curious of its history. Thus, it will lead to the abandonment of the trade and naturally, as well as its social memory. We can count the amount of kopitiams that are left on Jalan Tun HS Lee and other trade as well, have decreased year by year. In conclusion, both the older and younger generation play a significant role in keeping the cultures and trade alive to retain its identity and social memory. What challenges would be encountered to restore the community of the streets? The mission to restore the community along the street lies in the hands of a few parties. Among them are the younger generation, residents, and local authorities. The local who have created all this memory over time is challenged just to teach the younger ones on how to appreciate and conserve these intangible assets. Further on the importance of doing so, the younger generation, however, struggle to find balance between conservations and modernizations, making their business grow in modern context between world of cultures those days. Besides, local organizations and authorities would also face the challenge of enforcing laws and requirements on heritage conservation, especially among those who have tended to renovate or demolish the existing structures that had stood over decades. Campaigns and events that raise awareness regarding this topic should also be held consecutively that aim to root this thought in the younger's mind.
In conclusion, Jalan Tun HS Lee is losing its identity, which fades away social memory of the locals residing there, as well as the old buildings, traits, and practices of social norm vanishes through drift of time. With that being said, younger generations are unfamiliar with the history and lack the sense to appreciate the street, soon leading to abandonment. Modernization has been said to engulf the identity through addition of new buildings on the street and the renovation of existing buildings. However, modernization can also coexist with the traditionalism of the street through means of renovating stringent requirements to protect the street's originality. Local generations should find a way to revive the street through awareness and commercial activities, while everyone in this community should strike a balance between conservation and modernization of the local urban context. Thank you.